Yep. Inside, I want to kill myself. We are on an 0-7 run over the last 2 days. After tonight was just complete bullshit. So that's how I'm going to start off this show. Horrible Sunday, 1-5. I don't even know what to tell you about that. I just don't want to do this anymore. I have never seen anything like this, man. With the slump continuing, 2 straight losses, not a good day at all. 0-4. I just have not had a good season, man. What can this slump that I'm on? The slump continues. I've reached a new peak, actually. With I'm gonna burn my Bruins hat, man. I don't know what is going on with the Bruins. March 8th, is that what it is? I don't even know. It's March 9th, I think. Who even knows, man? I don't know what day it is anymore. I don't even know what day it is anymore, man. Back with you after the worst day that I could possibly have. Back with you, as I always am. Until I die, at least. 0-2 yesterday, and yesterday did not go well for me. 0-5. The worst month that I've ever had in my 18 years doing this. I don't know what to even tell you about this anymore. Broke the slump yesterday as the slump just continues. The slump continues. Somebody fucking kill me, please. I don't even know what I should do at this point other than potentially end it all. What's up, everybody? It's Toad back with you. Bettor Off Dead. Saturday morning edition. I haven't slept, man. Well, basically I haven't. If that wasn't obvious already. Thanks for everybody who hung out during the college football show last night. Another long-ass show. Not as long as the last couple of weeks. I think the board is a little bit smaller. I gave out 5 college football plays. I will repeat them at the end of the show, but if you want the analysis, you can go back and check that out. We're going to have, as is tradition now, I'm going to take my headphones off after I check my audio and make sure that the audio is all right. I feel free, man. I feel unencumbered. 3-1 on the show yesterday. We're on a really nice hot streak, man, over the past, 5 or so weeks, 6 weeks maybe even. Oh, man, I'm also coughing. Got something in my throat. I don't know what's going on here, but yeah, 3-1 yesterday. The Celtics, first game of the night last night, they blew it. They were winning by 8 at the end of the first quarter. Had one of the worst second quarters you'll ever see. I think getting outscored 42-14 in the second quarter. Never were able to come back. They kind of got back within the single-digit range. I think they did get back within the single-digit range there near the end. Didn't get there. We took the loss on that one, but the rest of the plays all won fairly easily. The Detroit Pistons wound up winning outright in overtime, so we'll take that one, obviously. They were, I think, covering the spread pretty much wire to wire in that one. I think it got a little bit close where I think they were losing by almost the spread a couple of times in there. I don't know. I didn't watch it that closely. And then Lakers and the Blazers both wound up just with blowout wins by the end of it. After those games looked a little bit closer earlier, or looked like they were not going to be blowout wins, at least for us earlier, but they wound up being blowout wins. So we'll take all that. We'll move on to today. I'm going to give out 3 additional plays on the show here today, 2 in hockey, 1 in the NBA. So that's what's going to happen here. Charles, what's up? Thanks for hanging out. You drank Scissorp, yeah. Was it purple drank, basically? Like Dimetap, that type of stuff? Or was it like Robitussin? Well, actually, you got to drink NyQuil, really. Like, I just remember Lewis Black back before he was a progressive pansy. Like, Lewis Black, his comedy now isn't even comedy. It's just like, it's literally just political propaganda, just looking to score political points. Like, he's not even trying to be funny, but he used to be funny, and I just remember he had that one joke. It was like, I don't know, I forget exactly what it was, but something about taking NyQuil, and it's like, why, what do you take? Robitussin, you non-narcotic sissy pansy. Yeah. The second quarter, Celtics need to fix a lot of shit, man. They didn't look that bad in their first game. Jeffrey, what's up, man? Thanks for hanging out. Yeah, the Piston Whisperer. I continue to be that, man. Dude, whenever I take the Pistons as an underdog, you better pay attention because they win outright almost every time I do it. So yeah, dude, the Pistons always come through like in a spot that's like a good spot for them or a bad spot for the other team. It was NyQuil. Oh hell yeah, I have some as well. I take it when I'm sick at least, or when I think I'm getting sick. Yeah, Lewis Black, he was good back in the day. I saw him live once with Dennis Miller was the headliner on that show. This was back when I was in like high school, and Jim Gaffigan was the opener of that one, and nobody knew who Gaffigan was at that point, and he was good. And I actually met Gaffigan after the show. I got him to sign something. I forget what I had him sign. I had him sign something. So I do have a Jim Gaffigan signature somewhere. I don't even know where it is, though, at this point. It's probably somewhere at my parents' house. But yeah, and Jim Gaffigan is completely blown up since then, and I've seen him multiple additional times, including if you watch Gaffigan's special from, I believe, last year. I don't know if it's his most recent or not, but he filmed a special in Boston. I was there in the audience, and I was like right near the front, and I was really, really tired because I had just been to the Celtics Mavericks game 1 of the NBA Finals, and I literally rushed from TD Garden all the way down to the Wilbur Theater to get to the gym because I had the the Gaffigan ticket. I was like, man, I'm going to do both. Because the Celtics game was an afternoon game. I'm like, I'm going to do both. I'm going to be able to make it down there. It's actually a straight shot on the subway. It's like the one situation where public transportation does actually get the job done when you're on one single subway line that just takes you literally from one place that you're at to the next. Like the Orange Line in Boston, like just has stops. Like one is right at North Station, basically right at the TD Garden, and then the other one is like right near the Wilbur Theater. So I was like, hell yeah, let's do it. I came in and I didn't even realize Gaffigan was taping a special. I just knew I had a Gaffigan ticket. I'm like, all right, I'm going. I come in and they're like making sure they checked everything. They told me I had to take my hat off. I'm like, what is going on here? Like, they're like, yeah, you can't wear hats during this. He's filming a special. I'm like, what? All right. So I think you guys could probably, I'm sure you guys could see me. I was at one of the tables like up front and I was probably asleep like during some of it, to be honest, which Gaffigan was not bad at that show though. Like, it was my fault. I was just doing way too many events in a short period of time, man. No rest, no sleep. It wasn't my favorite Gaffigan set, but I did think he was funny. I enjoyed it. Gaffigan used to play college football. I know he went to Indiana. I know he's from the state of Indiana. I don't know what college he actually went to. He's from the state of Indiana originally, I should say. Yeah, he did not sign a Hot Pocket. I think I got him to sign a business card actually, because I didn't have anything on me. Hey Jim, I'm not gonna buy one of your albums. Just sign this business card, please. I think that is what I did. I don't know, dude. I was in high school. I didn't have any money. I don't even know how I got that ticket. I went with like a few of my friends from high school. I don't even remember, man. And Dennis Miller, he gets a bad rap, dude. A lot of people don't like Dennis Miller's comedy. I kind of do. It's like, I mean, it's intellectual comedy. I think it's good. It's clever. It's funny. All right. But my friends were going just to see Lewis Black, really. Yeah, the Alpha Toad move, and that was because we didn't know who Gaffigan was yet. Let's get into today, man. I don't want this show to be too long here. Been talking for a bit here. Let's do hockey first because it is in the afternoon. Some of it is. My two plays are in the evening, though. So in the afternoon, I'm not going to talk about every one of these games, as I usually do not, but Islanders at Philadelphia. I do think the Islanders might be a little bit overvalued at this point because they have won 4 games in a row now, and that culminated in them crushing Detroit on Thursday 7-2. And if you look at the box score, I mean, there weren't any empty net goals in it, but it might have been a little bit misleading, especially in that Detroit was the more physical team. They doubled the Islanders' hits. I mean, the Islanders not necessarily known as a physical team, but when you have that much physicality, usually you're not going to lose the game 7-2 like Detroit did. Detroit outshot the Islanders. That was because they were losing by 5 goals. Like, they were losing 5-0 in the game, so I think they just started firing shots. So I won't take that much away from that. The Islanders did have their backup goalie in net too, Rittich, so they will have Sorokin back in net in this one, but I do think it is a little bit of a letdown spot for them this time, although they are starting a road trip, and I do talk about when a team starts a road trip, usually they are focused because they want to get the road trip off on the right foot. Don't know if they're going to look ahead to Boston here because my Boston Bruins have been playing so terribly recently. I don't know. The Flyers still think probably are not going to get that much attention paid to them. They're coming off a tough loss, though, to Ottawa. That was a game where I gave out a +1 puck line, basically, against on Philadelphia against Ottawa there. So that wound up being a push as far as my bet was concerned on the show. Difficult game for Philadelphia, too. They were almost able to beat Ottawa. They're coming back home. It was only a single-game road trip, though, so it's not like they were away from home for that long. So I don't think it's a typical return home spot or anything like that. I'll slightly lean to Philadelphia on this one, and the money is agreeing with that. I just don't really have a strong situational handicap on this one. The Islanders are public, 71% of the tickets, only 58% of the cash. Philadelphia seems like they're still a little bit under the radar. They're up on the money line from -113 to -116. If I was going to play the game, I would play the Flyers on the money line in that one. But again, I don't think it's a strong situation there. Dennis Miller on Monday Night Football. No, I didn't think he was that bad either. But my favorite Monday Night Football analyst was, of course, John Gruden. Dude, Gruden, he was the best, dude, just because he was just I don't know if he did it intentionally or not, but he's always homoerotic and just talking about how he just loves all these guys. This guy, Toucher and Rich back in the day, the Boston sports morning show, Toucher and Rich, they used to be on WBCN way back in the day, which was an alternative rock station. Then they wound up going, because they talked about sports a lot, they went over to 98.5, the Sports Hub, and they were doing their show for a while until they had a falling out, and now Rich no longer is with the show. But they had a good dynamic, the two of them, because Toucher was he was drunk a lot, but he was the funny guy. He was legitimately funny on the show. Rich was the more the straight man type of character, kind of a typical comedy duo. And Rich was the producer and stuff, so he did a lot of solid production stuff. But they loved Gruden, and back in the day, one of their games that they would play back in the day was the John Gruden This Guy Challenge, and they would play it every Tuesday after one of the John Gruden Monday night games. They would compile a bunch of audio from John Gruden. They'd have a caller call in, and they'd play audio from John Gruden saying this guy or just saying something really homoerotic about some player, and the caller, I think, had to guess who the player was that he was talking about or something like that. It's something along those lines. I can't remember, but I enjoyed it. It was definitely pretty funny back in the day. All right. Colorado at my Boston Bruins. Bruins, they suck. I mean, they're a huge underdog here, but is this a spot where Colorado might overlook the Bruins? Possibly. Colorado, they still don't have any regulation losses, but they've played 2 overtime games in a row, losing both of them to Utah, who is off to a really good start this year on the road for Colorado there. And then they went into a shootout on Thursday at home against Carolina. Carolina, one of the better teams in hockey as well. Colorado actually had Minor in net there. Not a Minor, but Minor. That was the first time they didn't use Wedgwood in net, who's been their just grinder of a goalie. So it will be Wedgwood again in net this game, I would imagine. But Colorado coming off that tough loss to Carolina might be a little bit of a bad spot for them. They might overlook the Bruins, too, because they did just beat the Bruins in Colorado back on October 18th. And by the way, I did see some stats on this that early in the hockey season, when you have a situation like this, when a team beat a team on their home, when a team won at home against another team, and then they have a revenge scenario that lines up shortly after that, and the team that lost on the road is now at home, that home team in revenge actually does pretty well. So the Bruins are in that spot. So they're actually in a pretty historically advantageous spot. I like the road reversal revenge better, though, where a team beat a team on the road, and then that team gets a chance at also beating that team back on the road. I like that better than the home revenge angle, but the home revenge angle is strong, and the Bruins are in that angle here, and they're getting a big underdog price. Colorado is coming off a very difficult game. They're having to travel here. Although I usually say you want to start the road trip off on the right foot, but maybe they do overlook the Bruins here. They got New Jersey up next. Carolina was a big game for them. They already beat the Bruins once pretty handily. I do think the Bruins are actually the right side in this one. The Bruins, they used Korpisalo in net last time, so it will be Swayman back in net this time. They're coming off just an ugly loss to Anaheim, 7-5. That was horrendous. Bruins are not traveling. They're staying at home, and this is the last game of this 3-game homestand here, and they're 0-2, so a little bit of motivation there as well. I think trying to just salvage the homestand and get a win here. Not saying they're necessarily going to win this game, but I would play the Bruins probably on the puck line or something, or find a way to make your own +1 puck line, put a little bit on the puck line, a little bit on the money line, something like that, depending on how big the price is. Colorado is getting 65% of the tickets, 50% of the cash on Boston, though. So the money is coming in on the Bruins. Colorado's all the way up from -169 favorite to a -196 favorite. Very, very heavy road favorite here, man. And the spot, I think, is better for the Bruins. So that is the way that I would lean in that game. But I don't want to give it out as a play. But I do think it's a decent way to look, is to look towards the Bruins in that game. Gaffigan was at Georgetown. He played football at Georgetown. I think they're like a decent FCS team, if I remember correctly. Teammate of Jim Schwartz, who I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but Jim Schwartz, I believe, is still defensive coordinator at Cleveland. Am I right about that? His defenses are always pretty strong, man. To be honest, I think Schwartz should become their head coach, although I think Schwartz wasn't very good when he was head coach of Detroit, I believe, back in the day. But I don't know. Schwartz is a defensive-minded coach and a very good DC, though. Anaheim at Tampa, I'm just going to point this out because Anaheim's 4-2-1 on the season, and Tampa's 1-4-2 this season, and Tampa's 0-3 at home. So, I mean, I think everybody kind of still knows that Tampa's the better team, but the records are saying, the records kind of make you question it. I think maybe the public is going to come in on this and see that they're getting Anaheim as a pretty substantial underdog, as the team with the way better record, and actually maybe not want to do anything with Tampa. So, that has me looking towards Tampa in this game, just because it's one of those situations where the odds makers are telling you something completely different than what the records say, where the odds makers are telling you, despite the fact that Tampa's off to this really bad start, they're still the better team. I'm just not sure I necessarily see a situation for, although Anaheim has been on the road for a while now. They do have Florida up next, so is it possible they overlook Tampa? Maybe. Anaheim will have Dostal back in net here because Mrazek played in their last game against Boston. 2 backup goalies facing off in that game. So Anaheim will have their starting goalie back in net for this one, although I don't think either goalie for them is really that good. I don't think Anaheim is even good. I don't think their record really tells you what they really are. Look at their wins. Their wins are against San Jose in overtime, Pittsburgh, Nashville, and Boston. They haven't beaten anybody actually good, so I think this record is misleading. I don't think Anaheim is actually that good. In fact, I think they're bad. They are playing a 4th straight road game here, so yeah, probably not the easiest spot for them necessarily. Tampa Bay staying at home off a pretty ugly loss to Chicago. Tampa was a big favorite in that game, but you could kind of sort of figure out what happened there because they did return home from a road trip, although they did have 4 days off coming home from that road trip. But still, return home from a road trip and you've been away for a while. Sometimes you can be distracted. I think maybe they took Chicago lightly, too. I think if you dig into this box score, it was Tampa Bay actually did outplay them in some phases of the game. They had over 60% of the faceoffs went Tampa's way. They actually outshot Chicago as well. So Tampa actually kind of outplayed Chicago. They just didn't win on the score there. So I think you're probably going to see a little bit more of a pissed-off Tampa Bay team here. Probably Vasilevsky will be in net again for Tampa. I'm not entirely sure about that. He's the predicted starter here, at least for now. Although sometimes that site can predict these things wrong, especially, you don't know, because these games are going to be later in the day, too. I think Tampa's probably the side you want to look for in this one, although it looks like Anaheim's getting some of the money right now. 53% of the tickets, or 52 now, actually. 58% of the cash. Tampa down from minus 199 on the money line to minus 184 on the money line. I would probably make a Tampa Bay -1 puck line in this one if I was going to play it, with some portion of it on the Tampa Bay -1.5 puck line and the other portion of it on the Tampa Bay money line. Is probably the way that I would look to play that game. I think Tampa probably wins that game. That would be my opinion. Mark Lawrence has free plays on Oklahoma, Fresno, and Mississippi State. SMU is in a bad spot. Oklahoma is one of my plays, indeed. I agree with him on Fresno State, even though it looked like the market was disagreeing with me on that one. I slightly lean to Fresno State, and I actually do not agree with Mississippi State. I think that's against Texas, right? I actually lean towards laying the points with Texas in that game, and I do have a play against SMU as well. So I agree with Wake. Wake is one of my plays. Vasilevsky, Jordan Peterson is talking about him. I don't quite follow that one. I'm going to give out a play on Buffalo, Toronto, and Vegas, Florida. So you get 2 early evening games from me. Utah at Minnesota. Utah is just on a roll right now, man. Probably they're not as good as this record looks, 6-2, but it's kind of cool to see the Mammoth off to a 6-2 start. I kind of want to get a Mammoth jersey, man. I mean, people are complaining about this mascot. I still don't know why. I mean, I think it's kind of badass. I like it. It reminds me of Mastodon. I don't know. I mean, it's certainly not the worst name they could have come up with. The Mammoth. It does sound badass. But, the Mammoth are on a nice run here with 5 wins in a row. They didn't have a letdown after that overtime win over Colorado. That was a huge win. They started this road trip off with a win over St. Louis as well. Now they got to go to Minnesota, and maybe they're going to overlook Minnesota a little bit, man, because Minnesota is still kind of a mediocre team. Mammoth have to go play Winnipeg tomorrow, and then they have Edmonton after that. So those are kind of bigger games. So I think the spot isn't really great for Utah in this one. Minnesota, however, they're returning home from a road trip, and I just can't really bring myself to be on a team that's returning home from a long road trip, even though I do think that Minnesota will have reason to show up for this one because it is Utah coming in, and Utah's been good so far. Their next game tomorrow is against San Jose. So if they're going to overlook one of those teams, I think it's going to be San Jose. So maybe a spot to look towards San Jose tomorrow because Minnesota plays Winnipeg after that. But Minnesota, they were on the road since Tuesday the 14th. They're coming back home after a long road trip. There are typically distractions involved in that because these are family guys. You've been away from home for a while. You do wind up with stuff that you have to take care of back at home, in addition to having to play a hockey game. They've had 2 days off, which maybe helps alleviate that, but it also might even make you kind of settle back in at home a little bit too much. So I don't know. Minnesota had a really poor road trip. They only won 1 out of the 5 games, but teams don't typically bounce back in that first game back from a road trip, dude. The first game back from a road trip tends to be a negative regardless of how well the road trip went. The money is coming in on Minnesota, though. Both teams are in bad spots, though, like I said. So, I mean, I have to leave this game alone, but 72% of the tickets are on Utah and 59% of the cash on Minnesota. The public will, of course, be on the team with the better record, especially getting them as a slight underdog. Minnesota down from -121 to -115 on the money line. It's an interesting game to try to handicap for sure. I don't even know what I would want to do with this one. I mean, the money is saying Minnesota. I'm not sure that I could quite do it, man. I mean, maybe I'll just slightly agree with that because I think maybe Utah's just a little bit overvalued right now. Remains to be seen. I didn't want to talk about every one of these games, but man, St. Louis is at Detroit. And plus, I got to finalize my picks as well and get my final videos out on Instagram. My college football videos are already out, though. So St. Louis, they had that loss to Utah, like I said. They're starting a road trip. When you start a road trip, that can usually kind of be like a reset. Starting a road trip, I think, is usually a positive regardless of what you're doing at home because either you're winning at home and you get to carry that momentum out on the road with you, or you lost at home and you want to just get out of there and just focus on hockey, and that's the case with St. Louis here. I think they will show up for this game against Detroit. Detroit, They're coming in off a loss to the Islanders. They're actually returning home from a road trip, but they only went to Buffalo and New York. But they are playing a third game in 4 days now, all in different cities, which is not that easy to do, although the road trip wasn't a very long road trip. They did lose really embarrassingly 7-2, and that was with Talbot in net. Might be Gibson in net this time. I don't know if Detroit has been kind of alternating between the two of them, like they're about even, so I don't know what we expect in this one. It's a very, very difficult game to handicap for me, man. I mean, I think probably St. Louis is in the somewhat better spot, though, because they get to just go out on the road here. And it looks like St. Louis is the market read as well, as Detroit's down from -111 to -109 on the money line. 89% of the tickets, only 75% of the cash. So Detroit is actually a pretty public, very small home favorite here, where the odds makers are actually telling you St. Louis is the better team because they're not even giving Detroit a full home ice on the line here. So St. Louis is being lined as actually the better team here, and they're an anti-public underdog in a fairly positive spot. So I think St. Louis is the right side there. Talk about all the games. Usually I do not, but most of these games are actually fairly interesting. Columbus at Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh could be in a letdown spot. I mean, that's kind of my first instinct here. Also, my instinct is also that Pittsburgh is not as good as their 6-2 record would indicate. I mean, looking at their wins, they're not horrible wins. I mean, they were able to beat the Rangers on the road. The Rangers are struggling right now. They beat Anaheim on the road. They beat L.A. on the road. That's better than Anaheim. L.A. is not that bad. They beat the Islanders at home, I think in a game where probably Pittsburgh shouldn't have won the game. I gave out the Islanders as a play in that game, and the Islanders did outplay them. Beating San Jose, I'm not going to put much stock into that. Beating Vancouver, decent win. Vancouver not great this year, though, I don't think. But then Pittsburgh did just get a win over Florida. And Florida, a little bit down this year maybe, but still Florida gets a lot of name recognition, man. So that's a big win for Pittsburgh, winning on the road against Florida. And now they have to come back home again. Pittsburgh's been all over the map here, man. They went out to the Pacific Coast like last week, basically. Came back home for one game on Tuesday, and then they had to go all the way back. They had to go out on the road again, all the way to Florida. Now they're coming back home again. Yeah, not a great schedule for Pittsburgh here, man. Just moving all over the place. So I think the spot is better for Columbus in this game. Columbus is coming off an ugly loss to Washington, but it was yesterday. So they are playing on a back-to-back. It was a letdown spot for Columbus, though, because they had beaten Dallas the game before that, which was a huge win. They just, I think, couldn't keep up the effort yesterday against Washington. They used Greaves in net yesterday, so it will be Elvis back in net this time. I don't know if that really matters because I don't think either of them are that good. But generally, I think it is a bounce-back spot here for Columbus. They are, they are in the back-to-back, though, which is really my only concern with this. I do think it's a letdown spot for Pittsburgh. The money is agreeing with me on Columbus. Pittsburgh up from -112 to -117 on the money line. 95% of the tickets on them. 58% of the cash on Columbus. So the money coming in on Columbus, I do not disagree with it. Typically, I'm going to avoid playing teams on back-to-backs, although I am doing it in the NBA, as you'll see in a minute. So you might know what my NBA play is based on that. Ottawa at Washington. Interesting game here as well. Washington is coming off that big win over, not a big win, but a blowout win, I should say, over Columbus. They're traveling back home after that. They're on a back-to-back. They do have Dallas up next. So is it possible that Washington overlooks Ottawa? They might. I know Ottawa, they're kind of upstart. They made the playoffs last year. They're not a bad team, really. The spot, to me, sets up a little bit better for Ottawa, though. Ottawa's coming off a close call against Philadelphia. I don't think they're going to be overconfident off of that win, and now they get to go to Washington, which is a game I think they'll be focused on. I lean to the Ottawa side in this one. The money is slightly in disagreement with it for now, but Washington is public. 72% of the tickets, 75% of the cash. Washington up on the money line from -125 to -130. If I was going to play the game, though, I would take Ottawa as the money line underdog there. Montreal at Vancouver. Vancouver is returning home from a road trip, so I got to point out again, it's not a very good spot returning home from a road trip, even though they finished the road trip in a very bad fashion, losing to Pittsburgh and Nashville, but they've been on the road for over a week. Again, you take a long road trip like this, you have to get settled back at home. They do have Edmonton up tomorrow, too, so it is possible they actually even overlook Montreal. And Edmonton's even kind of a bigger game because they already lost to Edmonton earlier this year, so it's also a revenge game against Edmonton, if revenge really matters. In the early season, it matters a little bit when you kind of remember what you just did against that team. So this is a bad spot for Vancouver. The problem is, I don't think the spot's great for Montreal either, although Montreal is already out in the in Western Canada already, but they played Edmonton to within 1 goal 2 days ago, so that worries me a little bit about Montreal as well. The spot is worse for Vancouver, though, so I would still need the Canadiens in this game. The Montreal Canadiens and not the Vancouver Canucks. The Canadiens versus the Canadiens. But yeah, Montreal, they're coming off a tough loss to Edmonton as well, so that puts them in not really exactly a positive spot. And the market read is actually saying Vancouver, which is kind of crazy to me. The public is on Montreal. I mean, I guess just because they have the better record right now. 77% of the tickets, only 76% of the cash. Vancouver up from minus 111 to minus 113 on the money line. I would lean to Montreal in this game, though. I mean, that would be my opinion in this one. You'll probably get Montembeault in net again because he had multiple days off prior to playing last time. So Montreal should have their better goalie in net in this one. Although I would imagine Vancouver probably will as well. They'll have Demko in net for this one, I assume, because he didn't play 2 games ago. But they've been alternating, so it's maybe possible that that's not actually correct. Actually, for some reason, this site says it's going to be Dobes in this one for Montreal. So maybe that's actually part of the reason why the money is not coming in on Montreal. So I don't know, man. I mean, I guess if you want to play this game, you got to kind of just keep an eye on it, I guess. But I don't know. The Kings are at Nashville. Nashville just got a win over Vancouver, and they're off to a better start than what they looked last year, at least. This Nashville team, I think they did underperform last year. Beating Vancouver, pretty big deal, though. I mean, just because they are Vancouver. Is it possible they overlook the Kings in this spot? Maybe, because they do have Dallas up after this, so I don't know, man. I mean, Nashville, maybe they're not really in a position to overlook anybody. But the Kings sitting at the same record as Nashville. Kings are in a bad spot, though. They're off beating Dallas in overtime. They've played 2 straight overtime games, winning both of them on the road against St. Louis and Dallas. So to me, that looks like a letdown spot for the Kings as well. And I actually think the Kings are in the worst spot out of these two. So I would actually lean to Nashville in this game based on that, just because I think beating Dallas is a big deal. LA up from minus 119 to minus 128 on the money line, though we don't see the percentages yet on this. Looks like some early money did come in on the Kings, but I would have a slight disagreement with that and lean to Nashville. Carolina at Dallas. Dallas is on a 4-game losing streak, man. So they're sitting at 3-1 now. And I think that they're better than that record would indicate. I think Dallas is really, really good still, despite what this recent stretch looks like. They did lose in overtime to the Kings, but I think they're going to be focused on this game, man. Maybe they were even looking ahead to this because Carolina is one of the best teams in hockey. So I think you're going to get a good effort out of Dallas here. Carolina, they're coming off winning in Colorado in a shootout, and now they're finishing a road trip that's already been a very successful road trip. They're already 4-1 on the road trip. Yeah, I mean, you will typically be focused when you go in to face Dallas, but coming off that shootout win over Colorado, which is a big deal, and then when they get back home, they got to face Vegas, who is the only team to have beaten to have beaten Carolina so far this year is Vegas. So that's actually a quick revenge game against Vegas. So as insane as it is to say, I actually think Carolina might overlook Dallas in the spot. So I actually think Dallas is the side to look at in this game, but the money is disagreeing with me. 55% of the tickets, 70% of the cash on Carolina. Dallas down from minus 115 to minus 109 on the money line here. I think you're getting a cheap price with Dallas, though. I think they're better than the record looks right now. I think they're definitely one of the more like top teams in the league still until I see something otherwise, which I haven't seen yet, in my opinion. Spot doesn't look as good to me for Carolina right now, so I actually lean to Dallas slightly in that one. And then Edmonton is at Seattle. Edmonton coming off that win over Montreal. I mean, beating Montreal is starting to become a big deal again. So that was a pretty big game. It was a kind of typical Edmonton game with a ton of goals scored. Edmonton was actually returning home from a road trip, and now they're going back out on the road again. So kind of ridiculous scheduling for Edmonton. They come back home for one game, and they go back out on the road. They did not use Skinner in net in that game. They used Pickard, so it will be Skinner, who is their better of their two goalies in net in this one. So they will have Skinner in net in this one. They're starting a road trip with momentum at least, so maybe they will still be focused on this. Seattle off to a decent start this year at 4-2-2. Seattle just beat Winnipeg, though, to finish a road trip. They shut out Winnipeg on the road, and now Seattle's returning home from a road trip. So the spot doesn't look good to me for Seattle, man, although Edmonton is typically a team that will draw your focus, though. Like in the return home spot, that might be one thing that might help you not be distracted, is the fact that it is Edmonton as your opponent there. But coming off a shutout win over Winnipeg and returning home from a road trip that you've been on for like 11 days or whatever, it's a bad spot for Seattle because they do have to get back to home life and whatever. So I do have a slight lean to Edmonton in this game as well. 62% of the tickets, 71% of the cash on Edmonton. So the cash seems to agree with it, even though they are the somewhat public side as well. But you got to lay a price for it. Seattle is not good, man. Edmonton's up for minus, despite what their record makes it look like they are, they're not good. Seattle up for minus 166 to minus 178 on the money line. It's a bit of a price to lay, though. So if you do it again, you should find a way to like split puck line and money line on that one, would be my opinion as far as how to play that game with Edmonton. Yeah, I don't know what else to say about the game, but Seattle does have a slightly better record than Edmonton right now, so it might look a little weird that Edmonton is favored that heavily, but the odds makers are telling you what you should think, that Edmonton is the better team there. Best bets time, let's do it. Even though I haven't talked about baseball yet, and I have not talked about NBA yet either. First play is going to be a split bet on Toronto, on the Maple Leafs. I'm going to recommend making it a split bet here, partially on the minus 1.5 puck line at plus 160 or whatever you can get on that, and the other part at minus 150 on the money line. On this run line calculator here, I figured out the amount to risk here. So usually you put a bit more money on the heavier side of it, on the favorite side of it, because you're having to put more at stake to win less on that side. But the way this comes out, it comes out to like almost a normal like bet size for me. So I just figure it out like to win the same amount that I would normally play to win. So that's just the way the splits come out there, where it's not quite 2/3 of the bet on the money line in this case. But I think it's one of those revenge spots that I talked about with Boston a little while ago. I think you have an even stronger angle here because Toronto is a home favorite here. And Toronto just lost at Buffalo. And I don't think Toronto is as bad as this 3-4-1 record makes them look. Yeah, they're on a back-to-back, but obviously so is Buffalo, because these teams both played each other yesterday. Toronto went into Buffalo and they lost the game. If you look at what happened in this game, though, Toronto out-face-offed them in a pretty major way, 58.3% of the face-offs, and the hits were just insane in favor of Toronto. Toronto out-hit Buffalo 30-8. So it's like you look at these stats, and Toronto had more shots too, partially because they were losing. But you look at the stat sheet, it's like, how did Toronto lose this game? I honestly have no idea. Toronto was the better team in this game, and they somehow lost the game. They gave up a shorthanded goal late in the game. They were never really getting blown out, though, so they weren't really ever in, like, desperation shot mode either. So they did outplay Buffalo in that game. So right now, I think Toronto is actually a little bit under the radar right now. They're coming back home from that one bad game. They're trying to break a loss streak here where they've lost 3 games in a row now. They had lost to New Jersey the game before that, but I think this is a good spot to get a win here, man. I mean, Buffalo is still not good, even though they actually have a slightly better record than Toronto right now. They're not the better team. Buffalo, I mean, they have some decent wins so far this year. They played well against some decent teams, but yeah, I mean, this has revenge, letdown written all over it. Buffalo is playing a 3rd game in 4 days and a 4th game in 6 days, where they actually went to Montreal back on the 20th, then came back home for 2 games, and now they're going back out on the road to Toronto on a back-to-back. So, of course, again, both teams on the back-to-back. But Buffalo has had the more tightly packed schedule out of the 2 teams recently as well. The money is coming in on the Toronto side in this one. even though the money line, for whatever reason, plummeted from -171 to -149, so you get a better price on Toronto. But the actual money looks like it is on Toronto. 69% of the tickets, 92% of the cash on Toronto, and that is where I'm going with this one. I think it's one of those quick revenge spots. Yeah, I'm going to go with it, and then we don't really know who the starting goalies are going to be yet in this one, although actually we do kind of know now. It looks like we're going to get 2 backup goalies in this one, so I'm okay with that. Because I still think Toronto's just the better team. So they've already confirmed it's going to be Primo in net for them. So it won't be Stolars in net for Toronto this time. And Ellis looks like he is going to be the goalie for Buffalo because it is the back-to-back. Yeah, I know the one game that Ellis played was a win against Detroit, but he's only played once this year, man. So I don't know if we can really gauge anything from that. Like, there's a reason why Ellis has only played one game this year so far. As far as Toronto, though, as far as Primo playing, he played one game, and Toronto did win that game as well. So I guess, you could say the same about Primo as well. He only played one game, and it was a game against a lesser opponent in Nashville. But still, I think that at the very least, that the goalie situation just kind of negates itself. So Toronto is the play in that one. Nate, what's up, man? Thanks for hanging out. The Sabres are hot. I think that the Sabre will cool off here, man. I think we're done forging a new weapon here, the new Sabre. It'll cool off, and I think it'll get broken in this one. And then my other play, Jeffrey's not going to like this one, but it's going to be the Florida Panthers on the money line here against Vegas. There's no way that people are going to want to do this, man. Vegas is a slight favorite in this one. They still haven't lost in regulation. Florida's below 500, but they are 3-1 at home. So Florida's still been a good home team this year. They've had a lot of road games this year, and they haven't been good on the road. But I think they're being a little bit undervalued, actually, at this point, even though they're returning champs. I know they got injuries, but I think Florida is actually better than they look at this point, and I don't like the spot for Vegas. Vegas is coming in off that really good win over Carolina. That's a huge win for them, man. And now they're starting a road trip. I know when you start a road trip, usually you are focused to start a road trip. But the other problem I have with Vegas right now is that they won 4 games in a row, and now they've had 4 days off. So you're going to argue, well, maybe, yeah, that means Vegas is rested. Yeah, but I think it is going to start turning into rust at some point, man. This is what I talk about with, like, football buys. When you have a huge win streak like that, the last thing you want to do is stop playing because it could stop your momentum. So I don't think that's a good thing. The fact they've had that many days off, I don't think it's good. I don't like it. Vegas has actually had a pretty easy schedule so far, too. So, yes, they're good, but I don't think they're quite as good as their record looks. I mean, their wins are against San Jose, Calgary twice, Boston, and then Carolina was their only really good win so far. So Vegas has not really been tested yet. Even in their losses to Seattle and LA, not really tested. I mean, those teams are not great, really. So, yeah, Vegas is going to have to step it up here, man, in this one. Florida has faced a more difficult schedule. Florida is more battle-tested. I mean, they've at least played Detroit, New Jersey. I mean, those teams are off to good starts. I mean, Ottawa's on a terrible team. I know this isn't like the biggest gauntlet, but Florida has also played a ton of road games. Like I said, they played 5 road games in a row in the middle here, and that's where all their losses came, except for one of them. So, and I believe their only home loss was, their most recent one. So you can kind of explain that. So Florida started out 3-0, not beating anybody that good except Ottawa's pretty decent. They lost a revenge game to Philadelphia, or Philadelphia was in revenge, which I think I gave out Philadelphia as a play in that one. Lost at Detroit, at New Jersey. You can kind of forgive them for those. They did lose at Buffalo. They beat Boston in Boston on a Boston mistake. And then their last game, I think you can kind of explain why they lost it, because they were returning home from a road trip. Bad spot when you return home from a road trip, man. As I always say, you can tend to get a little bit unfocused there, and I don't think they were focused for this Pittsburgh team. It's not really that good. They took the loss, but now Florida's in a positive spot, because when a team returns home from a road trip and they don't do well and they get distracted in that first game, they tend to do a lot better in the second game, and I think they might have already been looking ahead to this and maybe taking Pittsburgh lightly, realizing they had a big game against Vegas next. So I think you're going to get a full effort this time out of Florida. So I like it, man. As far as the goaltenders, we don't know yet, although last I saw, yeah, as we can still see, it looks like Florida, it looks like they have Bobrovsky at least slated to be their goalie here, and he is their top of their 2 goaltenders. And it looks like Vegas actually is predicted to have their backup goalie or their second-string goalie in, which is Schmid, because Hill was their top-string goalie, although they kind of bring them both into the mix. So that remains to be seen, but I like Florida. Vegas is a public side here, 68% of the tickets, only 55% of the cash. Vegas up from -101 to -113 on the money line. So you can get a little bit of a better price on Florida if the money line creeps up a little bit like that. But the public is on that Vegas side. I like Florida. That's the other play there. Hopefully we continue to do well here in this one. Ellis is a 4th or 5th goalie. Yeah, dude. Again, yeah, Buffalo's goaltenders, they're not good. I think they're worse than the Maple Leafs goalies. Florida sucks. Well, you keep saying that, but this is a spot that definitely pretty much screams to play Florida in this one. Florida's, again, they're not as bad as their record looks. And I am not a Florida fan because they keep beating the Bruins. So the only thing I like about them is they have Marchand. Underdog bet. Well, that's a small underdog. And then the Maple Leafs are a favorite. Mark Stone is on Vegas. Yeah, he's good for sure. Zach, what's up, man? Thanks for hanging out. Devils are not actually playing today, right? Or were they? I don't know. I talked about every game. I don't know. I don't think they were playing today. Islanders fired their goaltending coach. Interesting. All right, that's good to know. So I don't know if that means there's going to be a little bit of a fire coach phenomenon there with the Islanders. Is that going to mean that the Islanders are going to be better? I don't think it's like the spark that you get when you fire your head coach, though. Maybe their goaltending will be a little bit better in this one, but I still like Philadelphia in that game based on the situation. Let's go to the NBA. We only have 5 games here. I'm going to try to go rapid fire just briefly here. Chicago at Atlanta. Chicago, they beat Detroit in their home opener in an upset. Pretty big win. Just because Detroit was good last year. Chicago now going out on the road, but I think they will still be focused for Orlando too. Chicago's had 2 days off. Orlando has been a good team recently too. Orlando's on a back-to-back. They played yesterday and they lost to Atlanta as a home favorite. They're staying at home. They haven't exactly impressed yet, not covering either game as a road favorite so far. So I can kind of see arguments for both teams here. Although the rest situation definitely does favor Chicago in this one. And the money looks like it's coming in on the Magic, though. They're down from 7 to 6, 65% of tickets, 82% of the cash on Orlando, though. I can see the argument that Orlando's in a bounce-back spot because they didn't play well really in either home game so far. So even though they are in a back-to-back, I usually don't want to play on a team that's in a back-to-back, although I'm going to, like I said, and not this one. But, I mean, I can see some arguments for maybe looking towards Orlando. Like, you could argue maybe the Bulls are in a little bit of a letdown spot here, but the Bulls do have a rest advantage at the very least. So the market says Orlando. I'm kind of unsure about it. OKC is going to Atlanta here. Oklahoma City's coming off that double overtime game, but they're actually coming off 2 double overtime games, beating Houston and then escaping against Indiana as well. So they actually basically escaped 2 games as favorites so far. So they've played 4 overtimes since Tuesday, and now they're going to Atlanta, and they do have Dallas up next. I know Dallas is off to a really ugly start, but maybe Oklahoma City will overlook Atlanta a little bit here, man. It's not the easiest spot, even though you could argue that, well, the Thunder didn't play up to their standards, right, as a favorite there. And I told you I liked Indiana in that revenge spot. That was one of my plays. Indiana did cover for us in that one. Maybe they could have won the game outright. But still, Oklahoma City's played so many periods of basketball so far that I think they're going to be tired, man. So I don't love the spot for Oklahoma City here, even though, yeah, you could argue that because they almost lost as a favorite, they're going to show up focus. I don't know, man. And Atlanta is on a back-to-back. They're playing a 3rd game in 4 days. They're coming back home from an upset win in Orlando yesterday. So Atlanta's not exactly in the greatest spot either, although you got to think they're going to focus with the returning champs, Oklahoma City, coming into their place. The money's coming in on the Hawks. The Thunder down from 6.5 to 6. 69% of the tickets on the Thunder. 66% of the cash, though, on the Hawks. So the market is saying to play the Hawks. I mean, I guess I would use the market as like the deciding factor when I think there are conflicting situational factors. I kind of default to leaning with the market in a case like that. I mean, I could definitely see that the argument is going to be that Oklahoma City is very, very tired right now. That argument does make sense to me, but I can't get there with Atlanta either. Charlotte at Philadelphia. Philadelphia could be in a letdown spot here, man. I mean, they pulled off the upset against the Celtics. I know it's a struggling, kind of depleted Celtics team here. Philadelphia beating the Boston, though, is still a big deal for Philadelphia. I know this is going to be their home opener, but I think they might overlook Charlotte, man, maybe. And they do have Orlando up next. Orlando, a team that's made the playoffs the last couple of years, seen as a better team than Charlotte. So I think Charlotte actually is a little bit under the radar right now, man. Charlotte actually looks like they might be improved. We don't know yet. They're coming off a blowout win in their opener over Brooklyn, which I think really what that will do is just it'll give Charlotte confidence moving forward. Brooklyn is really bad, so we'll see how much meaning that game really has. But starting a road trip off of that kind of confidence-building win, I actually think is a little bit better for Charlotte. And this line just kind of looks crazy, man. The fact that the Sixers are only a 4.5-point favorite against Charlotte, who was really, really bad last year. Sixers down from 6.5 to 4.5. 52% of the tickets and 77% of the cash on the Hornets. I'll agree with the money in that one. I would lean to the Hornets in that one. I do think it's a bit of a letdown spot for Philly. Not going to be my play, but I don't disagree with the market in that one. I think Charlotte may be the right side there. And you got to look to see if there are injury issues here with Philadelphia. You always do. Paul George is still out, so he already missed the first game. That's really the main thing is just George is still out, so there's not really anything else to see there. But as I mentioned, Embiid did not look good in that Celtic game, man. He looks like he can't jump anymore, so he does not look 100%. So we will see. Jeffrey, you like the under in that one? Edgecombe had a ridiculous game in that first game for Philadelphia, so that's another reason why you kind of got to expect a little bit of regression from Philadelphia for that reason. Philadelphia shot kind of out of their minds from three-point range, including Edgecombe in his NBA debut. He's a good shooter, but yeah, I mean, I agree. I think there should be some regression there. Maybe it'll come into play on the total. The money's coming in on the over in that game, but at this point, the line's gone way up from 231 and a half to 236 and a half. 89% of the tickets, 97% of the cash on the over. Money continuing to come in on the over, but I kind of agree with you that like you see two teams that both put up high point totals in their first game. Yeah, I mean, I'm not really going to disagree with an under in that one. You won on the under in the Mavs game yesterday. Yeah, hell yeah, man. I mean, I don't do NBA totals really, so I don't really know a ton about it, but I could pretty much say that, yeah, I mean, I think this line has gone too high on this Charlotte-Philadelphia game. It is really high, and I think some of that is just based on recency. The fact that both those teams scored a lot. I'm going to skip Indiana-Memphis for now. Phoenix-Denver. I don't even know if it's that much worth talking about. Denver lost their first game to Golden State in overtime on the road. This is going to be Denver's home opener. Part of me thinks Denver is going to show up for this, even though, yeah, they do have Minnesota up next, which is a big game as well, which actually, is that a revenge game? Let me see. What did Denver, I forget who did what in the postseason. No, Denver lost to Oklahoma City. Of course they did. That's right. Denver lost to Oklahoma City in the playoffs last year. But, yeah, Denver does have Minnesota coming up next. But I don't know that they actually overlook a team in their home opener, though, man. Denver's home opener. Denver, they might be a little bit pissed, too, because they usually actually dominate Golden State. Jokic usually just destroys Golden State, and Golden State was able to beat them in overtime. Still, it's a big game, though, so I could see taking this game either way, right? Like, I could see Denver maybe being in a bounce-back spot just because they've dominated Golden State recently, but you could argue that that was also a big game, and it was a hard-fought game that went into overtime, and it could be a hangover spot, too. So I don't know which opinion I would even take here. Phoenix is on a back-to-back, though, and they're having to go from L.A. into Denver, so that doesn't look like a good spot to me with no rest. They have to go from the Pacific Coast into Denver. They lost. The Clippers had a nice bounce back last night. They were able to cover after, I think, losing in a blowout in their first game, right? Yeah, to Utah. So I was correct about my lean, and I think Saab got that one right as well, I think, on the Clippers. Although he said he was going first quarter, and I actually think the Clippers didn't turn it on until later in the game. So I do think the spot is pretty bad for Phoenix. 84% of the tickets are on the Nuggets, though, and only 81% of the cash, although they're up from 12.5 to 13. Don't know what I would want to do with this game, to be honest. The money is saying to take the points with the Suns. I don't know if I see it, man. Back-to-back, again, with just kind of a weird travel spot. Nugget home opener, losing to a team that they usually dominate. I might slightly disagree with that one and maybe lean towards laying the points, but of course, the Nuggets can come in and win this game. They can win without covering, obviously, and maybe they just won't really take the Suns that seriously because the Suns don't have Durant anymore and whatever. We'll see what happens. My play, as the best bet segment continues, is Memphis as a pick'em, or I think they're -1 in a lot of spots out there right now. Either way, whatever you can find, or a money line play. I like the Grizz in this one. I think it's a terrible spot for Indiana. Memphis has flipped from a 1.5-point dog to a pick'em. 50% of the tickets on the Pacers, 62% of the cash coming in on the Grizzlies, money coming in on the Grizzlies. And one of the things that the Pacers like to do is they like to run the floor. And like I said, I thought that was going to continue to keep the Thunder tired after a double overtime game for the Thunder. I just thought the Pacers were in a huge revenge spot too. Playoff final or NBA final revenge mode for the Pacers. But because the Pacers like to play fast, I don't think that's going to be that helpful to them here because the Grizzlies also do that. So they're not really going to be able to throw Memphis off as far as their pacing. And I just think this is a terrible spot for Indiana, man. I mean, that was the game they wanted on Thursday against Oklahoma City, and they almost pulled off the upset. They almost got their finals revenge, went into double overtime, and they have to come away with falling short in that game, and now they go out on the road to face Memphis. To me, it seems like a brutal spot, man. They do have Minnesota up next. I don't know if they're going to look ahead to Minnesota as well because Minnesota is better than Memphis is. I don't know, but this just looks like a really, really bad spot to me for Indiana. They're still without Halliburton, of course. So Indiana a little bit shorthanded right now. Memphis did have Morant in the lineup yesterday. So Morant played. So Morant isn't hurt. So just something to keep in mind. Morant will be there again. As I mentioned, yes, Memphis is on a back-to-back here, but I think this is a get-right spot for Memphis, man. They got absolutely embarrassed by the Miami Heat yesterday. I actually didn't think it was that bad of a spot. The money was all over Miami in that game, and I didn't even really agree with it. So Saab, I think, had Miami yesterday, so good for him. Miami was an easy win on that one, but Memphis is now coming off that game. They got absolutely just embarrassed on their home floor, man. They lost by whatever that is, 32 points. They gave up 146. I know Memphis is not a defensive juggernaut, but still, I mean, you play a game that poorly, you're going to want to bounce back in the next game. I know it's a back-to-back, but I think the spot is still way worse for Indiana. I think Memphis is going to show up for this one, man, and maybe they didn't really show up yesterday. So, yeah, I like Memphis in this one. They have not been impressive so far, though they did somehow get the cover in that first game against a New Orleans team that I thought was actually primed to cover that number. Morant had a terrible shooting game, by the way. So that's the other thing you can take away from this. If you look at what happened in this game, you're going to get some regression back to a mean here, man, because Miami shot 53.9% from the field and 47.5% from three-point range. That's absurd. You're not going to see, I really highly doubt that you're going to see Indiana shoot that well in this game against Memphis here, and especially shoot that well from three. That was an outlier type of spot there for Miami. I don't think that's going to happen again. Memphis had a really poor shooting game too, 40% from the field, 28.9% from three. That's an outlier too. I don't think that's going to repeat itself either. So there's a lot of room for some progression basically from Memphis here after that outlier bad shooting performance. I think that they couldn't possibly shoot as badly as they did in that game, in this game today or tonight. They did get dominated on the boards, but now you're looking at a team in Indiana that does not have a guy like Adebayo. So Indiana is not going to be able to, I think, dominate Memphis on the boards as much as as much as the Heat were able to do. And, of course, a lot of that was because Zach Edey was hurt, which he still is. So we do have to keep that in mind that Zach Edey is injured. Memphis does have a lot of injuries, but obviously so does Indiana. Both these teams are really injured. And Indiana, in addition to Halliburton, they're without Nembhard right now and McConnell as well. So they have a lot of guys who are in the rotation that are out here, man. So I actually think Memphis is the team that's less injury decimated, obviously, because, I mean, Halliburton is a huge injury for Indiana. So that's what we got going on there. And I assume Halliburton is still out, right? He's not listed on the injury report, but I think that's because he's out for the whole season, if I'm not mistaken, right? I'm pretty sure Halliburton's not back because he wrecked his leg. He basically had a Jason Tatum injury. I think they were both out for basically the whole season. So Memphis is the right play. The money's coming in on that side. I'm going to talk about World Series, then we'll get out of it. We'll get out of here, I should say. Suns plus 560 on the money line. Yeah, I would not do that. I think Denver will at least have enough focus to win that game. Yeah, McConnell is still out, as we just saw. Plenty of the underdogs. Yeah, I was on all underdogs in the NBA yesterday, and 3 of them won outright, although 2 of them were really tiny underdogs, though. The Lakers, I think, went off at like a 1.5-point underdog. I gave them out at 2.5, and then Portland, I think, actually went up to about a 2-point underdog, and I gave them out as a 1-point underdog. All right, baseball, before I get out of here. I mean, we had just a crazy game yesterday, man. LA was winning the game 2-0 yesterday early. Snell was off to a good start in the game. He loaded the bases in whatever it was, the 5th inning or whatever, and everything went to hell. And I think Toronto scored 9 runs in that game. And I think LA probably, I mean, I talked about this last night. I was trying to gather my thoughts. I think LA probably pulled Snell too early in that game, to be honest. I think he might have been able to limit the damage more than their bullpen did. The bullpen really did not do well for LA, including Emmett Sheehan, who was a young, very talented pitcher who I like. They didn't do well in that game, man. So LA just wound up being a lost game for them. They lost 11-4. I mean, LA is still the better team, though. I think they're still a favorite to win the series, probably. Neither team has a good bullpen. Toronto used more of their bullpen yesterday, and they did use Dominguez, I think, too early on, because I think he's one of their, last men out of the bullpen, him and Hoffman, I believe, although they didn't use Hoffman yesterday. But they did use Dominguez, so maybe a little bit of a concern there, where Toronto actually went to the bullpen pretty early on, and they used at least one of their, back-end relief men, whereas I think the Dodgers didn't exactly use their best relievers yesterday. So I think the Dodgers bullpen is actually in somewhat better shape coming into this game. Their team overall threw fewer pitches as well. Their bullpen threw way fewer pitches. Dodgers bullpen threw 56 pitches. Toronto's bullpen yesterday threw 91. So Toronto's bullpen is the more used up bullpen of the two. And I actually think they might be the slightly worse of the two bullpens anyway. So I think the Dodgers do have a bullpen edge coming into this one. The Dodgers probably going to be really angry after that game. Yes, Toronto is better at home, so that's something to keep in mind. Toronto, very good home team. Dodgers, kind of a mediocre road team. Dodgers did just lose Snell. They didn't lose Snell, but they lost the game that Snell started. So they had to take a loss with one of their better starters on the mound. I think they right the ship, though, in my opinion. I would lean to the Dodgers in this one. They're up from minus 140 to minus 143 on the money line here. Still lined as a road favorite, and the odds makers are doing that for a reason. The public, I think, is not really going to want to do that with the Dodgers, especially after seeing that they got killed yesterday, and now Toronto has basically their best starter on the mound tonight. So I think the public doesn't really want much to do with the Dodgers right now. 68% of the tickets, 85% of the cash coming in on the Dodgers here. So the money's coming in on the Dodgers. I'm not going to disagree with it. The total's gone up a little bit. 87% of tickets on the over, 93% of the cash on the over. The total up a little bit from 7.5 to 7.5, juice to the over. Even though I know yesterday's game was almost misleadingly high scoring, I would not want to play an under in this game. I mean, I thought yesterday's game might have been a decent spot to go under, and it looked like it was trending towards an under until all hell broke loose pretty much, but that's kind of what you get when you have two bullpens that aren't really very good. So I would definitely worry about trying to play an under in this game. There's no way I would do that. If I was going to play this game, I would go Dodgers, probably money line full game here, because I do actually think they have a bullpen rest edge here, and I actually think they have the better starter on the mound in Yoshinobu Yamamoto. Good season for him, 2.49 ERA, 0.99 whip. He was actually better on the road, 2.13 road ERA. He's been good in the playoffs, 1.83 ERA, so I think the pressure won't get to him now that he's pitched really well throughout the playoffs in 3 starts, 18-4 strikeout walk ratio in the playoffs. He is coming off a complete game, though, so I think that's one thing that maybe you have to be a little bit concerned about. Complete game against Milwaukee, where he only allowed 1 earned run. So, I mean, is that going to hang him over a little bit coming into this one? Maybe, but he's had a lot of days off, dude. He hasn't pitched since the 14th, so he is going to be really rested. So that makes me less worried about the fact that he threw 111 pitches in that one. Dodgers going real old school here. And you saw it down the stretch. He was throwing over 100 pitches fairly regularly, so it's not like totally like out of the realm of possibility for him. Against the Blue Jays, they only have 2 hitters who have ever seen him before, and they're only a combined 1 for 3. France and Kiner Falefa, who has the only hit off him, which is a single. France does have a walk. They have 2 strikeouts, 1 walk off him. So Yamamoto is almost completely unfamiliar to the Blue Jays, too. I think that's another edge for Yamamoto because he's unfamiliar to the opposing hitter. So I do think that gives him an edge in this one. I talk about that a lot. When the starting pitcher is unfamiliar to the opposing hitters, the hitters have to kind of figure him out on the fly. So I think that gives him an edge. Kevin Gausman, like I said, is pitching for Toronto here. He is their best starter. He had a really good run down the stretch. He pitched really well down the stretch this season. 3.59 ERA, 1.06 whip. He's the more experienced pitcher. And yes, experience is a factor. Experience does matter when it comes to a World Series, although Gausman hasn't, Gausman, whatever his name is, he hasn't pitched in a World Series before, but he obviously has more playoff experience than Yamamoto does, as Yamamoto doesn't have really that much. Gausman was worse at home, though, this year, 3.86 ERA at home, and he has not been as good in the playoffs as Yamamoto has. Gausman hasn't thrown as many pitches, though, but he has a 2 ERA in the playoffs, which is good, but his strikeout walk ratio is not good. 12-9 strikeout walk ratio for Gausman. That's not that great of a sign, man. He's been a little bit out of control coming into the playoffs here, and his last couple starts to finish the regular season were iffy as well. So I don't think he's in the greatest form right now. His numbers against the Dodgers, 156 at-bats. They have a lot of experience against him. 45-16 strikeout walk ratio. That's too many walks as well. 237 batting average isn't that bad. That's low, but 757 OPS is getting into the higher range here. So the Dodgers, they've been able to hit Gausman a little bit. They've hit him all right, at least for power. So you got Yamamoto, who has the better home road splits. He has the unfamiliarity edge. He's been better recently, so I mean, he's in better form right now, I should say. A lot of things kind of going for Yamamoto in this one, man. Should we do it? Should we play the Dodgers in this one? Man, I mean, I'm also tempted to say playing the Dodgers to win the World Series is actually a decent look as well right now because you're going to get them at a better price. I think this might be the best price you'll get on the Dodgers to win the World Series. You get them at a smaller favorite price here. I'm tempted to go Dodgers in this one, man. I am. Let's see. Ohtani, meaningless home run. I mean, his home runs, I don't know, man. I mean, he's a really good hitter, though. You think Yamamoto's going to cry? Well, the umpires are definitely a factor here, but if you think that the umpires want to extend the series and get more baseball because it's more money, then they probably want the Dodgers to win this game. The Blue Jays are a selective team. That is true. The Jays are a really good offense. So are the Dodgers. I mean, the Dodgers are really good. The Dodgers hit really well, and Toronto is a very patient offense that also hits well. You added Colorado. Saab, what's up, man? You're on Colorado plus the points. You're on the Blue Jackets money line. What did I say about the Blue Jackets and the Blues? Grizzlies, yes, I am on the Grizzlies. That's one of my plays. Blue Jackets and Blues, I forget what I said about those games. What did I say about those games? I don't know. You can go back and listen to what I said about those games. They're not plays for me, but I don't know. I don't remember if I agreed or disagreed on those. You have a Blue Jays ticket there. You think the Dodgers win. I agree with you. You think the baseball wants the Blue Jays. You bet Ohtani to get a home run last night. Charles, you got to win on that. I don't like the home run props, as you know. You never get good enough odds on it. You know what, though? I'm going to do this. I don't care. I think this sets up a lot better. This is the type of play that I usually am going to make. We can get it at minus 140 on the money line here. We're doing it. We're going all out today. We're going to wind up with 8 plays today. Here you go. We'll get involved in the World Series. My baseball playoffs have been really good. What am I, 5-1-1 in the playoffs so far? I know, famous last words, but we're going to do it. Dodgers, money line. Fuck it. We'll have a play on the Dodgers as well. I talked myself into it. Let's do it. And that's going to do it, man. Thanks for hanging out, guys. Once again, all my plays today. College football, Oklahoma -5, Wake Forest +3.5, Iowa State -2.5, Missouri +3, South Carolina +11.5. Hockey, we got a split bet on the Toronto Maple Leafs, partially on the puck line, partially on the money line. We got Florida Panthers money line. NBA, we got Memphis, Pick'em, or if you can find a +1 like Saab did, Dodgers money line in the World Series. That's going to do it. Learn to tote on Twitter. Learn to tote on Instagram. Like, subscribe to the show here. Let's keep boosting this thing. I've been hot, man, so let's keep going with this. Actually, we have 9 plays today, not 8, 9. We have 5 football plays, not 4. I'll be back tonight to talk NFL. It's a shorter NFL board this time, but it'll still be probably at least an hour show. So come back for that. I only have 1 play that I'm almost definitively going to give out, though. But come back for that at around midnight. I learned to tote on Instagram. Bettor Off Dead. Like, subscribe here. Go give me a good review on iTunes, Spotify, whatever, Apple and Spotify. Listen over there. That helps me out as well. Covered in Uke on YouTube, my Uke channel, and patreon.com/learntotote. And you get some bonus content. You can request Uke covers and get a Uke Patreon feed or Spotify feed. That's it. That's going to do it. You guys are all mad at me, I know. Jeffrey's mad at me for the Dodger play there. The Blue Jays will be happy. No, I don't think the Blue Jays will be happy to split the first 2 because they'll lose home field advantage if they lose either one. But they're an underdog in both games. They're still an underdog for the series, so you got to think it was pretty likely. Yamamoto relies on the umps. Like Snell is a really good pitcher, man. I will not partake in your Snell hatred. He's really good. Yamamoto, the only concern is that he might be, the question is the pressure going to get to him? Thank you, Charles. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Jeffrey. I appreciate it. Thanks for coming back. Thanks for hanging out, man. Foo Fighters reference there. Thank you, sir. Nate, what's up, man? Nate, you're a Stars fan. I forget what I said about the Stars today. I think I said I did lean to the Stars today, but I forget. We're going to look to the Stars. Toad breakers, you're not going to break me, bro. That's going to do it. I appreciate it. I'll be back tonight for NFL. Thanks. Peace for now, guys.